Liam Cahill has a job in his hands to turn around a couple of tough seasons with Waterford, so we're previewing their season here. I'm wearing the Orga Retro jersey, so go to orgaretro.com, put in the promo code OurGame, and you can get this 15% off this jersey, or maybe even the Roscommon one that Michael Verney is wearing, whatever's to your liking. What do you make of the size of the task that Liam Cahill has? Because, obviously the Daisha got to the All-Ireland final in 2017, but no championship wins since. Derek McGrath's final year in charge is quite disappointing. Obviously they had injuries, suspensions, everything went wrong. Under Pádraig Fanning, they then got to a league final the following year, but suffered some heavy beatings. He's no longer the manager. Now Liam Cahill is in. We know about his underage success, winning All-Irelands at minor level, under 21 level and under 20 level with Tipperary when they changed that grade in the final season. So in terms of pedigree, anything that Liam Cahill could have done at underage, he's kind of done it. And I even felt that there were signs of positivity during that league when, if you go through it, I'm not sure the exact fixture by fixture, but yeah, they won 3 of their 5 league games. They won against Cork after conceding 2 goals in the first couple of minutes. They won against Westmeath and Galway, and then they lost to Limerick and Tipperary, and obviously they had those red cards against Tipperary as well. But in an overall sense, how do you feel Waterford are looking this season?
I think it's a tough task, especially with the way the season is after kind of turning out. Just the fact that, do Waterford have, a lot of big physical players, particularly in attack? Do they have, lots of big ball winners? I'm not sure they do. I'm not sure where they're going to get their hands on possession, particularly in the half-forward line. I don't think they have a killer, a Joe Canning in the forward line, or even, they definitely don't have a Seamus Camden on the inside line or anything like that. It looked like he was going for really, really mobile players all over the field. And having mobile forwards in the summer would be great. But having smaller, dandier forwards in the winter, not so much. I think it's a lot more difficult. They're going to have to get an awful lot out of Pádraig Mahoney, who had been trialled at midfield. They're going to Stephen Bennett's kind of that one player, probably the exception to what I was just saying there. He's not unreal big rat. He's only about 6'1" or 6'2", but he is a very, very physical player who's done an awful lot of really good hurling, particularly really good league hurling over the last couple of years. Maybe not as good in championship, but I'm just not sure if they have those type of players. Say like Desi Hutchison would say would be the one big plus for Waterford this year. But is he going to shoot the lights out in a winter championship? A guy with that blistering pace, probably one of the fastest inter-county players out there. We've talked about that in a different video. Will he really get to show that at this time of the year in demanding kind of conditions? I'm not so sure. Waterford also have a couple of injuries that they'd definitely be worried about. Conor Prunty did a calf in club training. That was kind of controversial enough at the time. He did it in county training, I should say, during the club window, and ended up missing, I think, a quarter final for Ballynacorty as a result of that. Neil Montgomery did a hamstring injury as well. I think that was kicking football for Ballynacorty. And Conor Gleason is the most recent one. He did a hamstring injury, came off midway through the first half, I think it was, in the Niners semi-final loss to Ballynacorty, where Montgomery and Prunty, neither of them were playing. So there's two defenders that you'd be worried about. And Montgomery was good in the couple of league games I saw, particularly good against Galway. Effective anyway. The offset of that is that Tadhg de Burca is back. He had a very good intermediate campaign by all accounts with Clashmore Kinsale Beg. So I think him coming back is huge. But where did they play him? Did they play him centre back and let him sit back in the pocket and potentially get a couple of points scored off him, 3 or 4 points scored off him, or is he a American centre back? There's a lot of questions, and something I said as well, and I know I'm going on here for a lot, but this is Liam Cahill's first year, right? Whereas if you compare with Davy Fitz, John Kiley, Brian Cody, Liam Sheedy, the scenario in those counties. The players know you. They know what you expect of them. He's come in there for a couple of months, and by all accounts, he's made a good impact. But he hasn't had them for 6 months, and he doesn't know what they'll be doing when he's not looking. He doesn't know them that well. He doesn't know the personalities that well. So essentially, it's a really, really short little campaign that he's had with them, and there's an awful lot of problems that he has to fix in that short period of time, and just find it very hard to believe that he'd be able to turn it around that much, that to be able to have a really, really good year this year.
Yeah, well, if you look at the players that are no longer there, that have either stepped aside or been pushed aside from 2019, which is Noel Connors, Maurice Shanahan, Michael Brick-Walsh, you would imagine that they're lads who would excel in the winter because they are physical players. And I know you might say Maurice Shanahan didn't get that much game time in the past couple of years, so how much would he have got? But you'd think that these conditions would suit him. Brick-Walsh, obviously he has a huge amount of miles on the clock, but again, it's hard to beat having a ball winner and somebody who can, you don't mind throwing him out in any conditions. Noel Connors has obviously done it for years as well. But he's moving in a different direction. But that Conor Prunty injury, and even Conor Gleason, who, if we jump back to the spring campaign, and he had a tough game against Tipperary. Oh, no, sorry, that was the previous year. He had a tough league game against Cork earlier this year as well. Conor Prunty shut down Patrick Horgan, I believe, in that game as well. So there are a lot of reasons why you'd be a bit concerned for Waterford. Even Deadly Hutchinson, who's a guy who we know potentially could light it up, he probably didn't have the greatest league in the world. There were signs there, but with a few more games under his belt, maybe he could transfer that Ballygunner form to inter-county level. He had a couple of big games in the Waterford Championship, albeit it was fairly much a case of Ballygunner coasting through all of that. We ultimately are going to have to look at the experienced players here for Waterford to kick on this year again. Stephen O'Keefe in the goals, Tyg de Burka, you've mentioned, Jamie Barron, if he gets up to 2017 form where he was hurler of the year in my opinion, Kevin Moran, who was also nominated that year, but of course he has more miles on the clock as well, but still such an important player, and the leadership would be huge. Now Austin Gleason, who's done the body transformation this year, we've kind of seen that before, we've had the imagery up showing his before and after, and he kind of had even mentioned how he'd probably overdo the diet at times and certainly binge eat to some degree is basically how he was putting it. Austin Gleason, where does he play? Can he get back to 2017 form? 2016 form even?
Yeah, sure, but that's a bit of a disaster from Liam Cattle's point of view as well. I'm sure he had ideas of where he was going to play him and try him here and there and try him in one spot, maybe in a league game. The league game I was at, I think he was playing around middle of the field against Galway. It's that long ago, I'm not even so sure. But it's going to be hard for him just to start him in a new position, for just basically throwing him in for championship in a new position.
Well, centre back did not work earlier in the league, but then again, he's physically a very different looking proposition now, so maybe he'd absolutely lord it at centre back. But I'd be more inclined to say, do I want to find a new position for Tyg de Burka? No, I'll put him in there, and I'll put Ozzy Gleason as a Roman centre forward, Roman wing forward.
Yeah, the thing about putting him centre back is he's going to get on a lot of ball, but he's not a marking centre back. It's a happy medium between sweeping and marking, and there's potential that his man could hit 4 or 5 points off him just playing loose, playing like Austin Gleason plays when he plays centre forward, roaming around. So I don't think that's worth the risk. I think probably in the half forward line, or maybe as the engine now to play midfield, and he'd really complement Jamie Barron and be able to pick up ball from the half back line and kind of go forward. We all saw that score he got for Mount Sion, where he basically ran the length of the field. That's in his arsenal now. He has the physical capability to do that. But again, we go into another championship and we're wondering where he's playing. And he has said himself that he'd love to just have a nailed down position, but we go into another campaign where we don't really know where he's going to play again. And
that's probably the way it's going to be. I think because he kind of physically ticks so many boxes. He's fairly fast, he's strong. He's very fast, he's strong, he's a brilliant hurler. Potentially you could play him a load of different positions, but I'd rather him further up the field because he's probably going to have 8 shots a game, whether he's playing centre back or whether he's wing forward, and I'd rather him 30 or 40 yards further up the field, where obviously your accuracy would increase with that. So from my point of view, I'd have him up the field, and I'd love to know what other people think. I mean, comment in under the video or on the website, let us know where you think he should play. Other than that, I think Kieran Bennett, he came in and had a couple of decent performances in the league. I think he scored 4 or 5 against Cork the first day out. I think Mikey Carney still offers something, and I mean, there's probably other forwards who are diminutive that and whereas we're probably looking more for a big sort of a profile forward. Could we get a Tom Devine back in there again? I do think that they'll push Cork all the way in the Munster Championship, and I actually don't rule them out winning that game in that Munster semi-final. What do you think?
I think it's a perfect draw for them, to be honest. Imagine being on the other side. Clare have really got the sticky wicket there. They got an awful draw where they're going to have to come through Limerick and Tipperary to get to the Munster final. Waterford have to win one game against a side that they have beaten, regularly enough in championship, in recent enough championships. The last championship win they had was the All-Ireland semi-final in 2017 against Cork. and there's no reason to suggest why they couldn't beat Cork. Now I can't see them winning Munster, but if you're looking at, I think even a Munster semi-final between two teams, neither of which are going to really excel in winter conditions. So it's just going to be which kind of team adapts to it the best. I wouldn't see why. I'd give Waterford a good chance in that game. I'm very strong on conditions not suiting Cork at all, because I just don't see where the ball winners are coming from, and I can see a lot of their speedy forwards kind of been gobbled up maybe at this time of the year, and their best traits being less effective at this time of the year. So it's the perfect draw for them. Like what would progress be for Waterford in 2020? Winning a championship game. There's a realistic chance of winning their first championship game. They'll be back in the Munster final. Like, it's only like one win changes their year completely. Beating Cork and getting to a Munster final means that 2020 is a success, regardless of how other games go. And if they were to get to a Munster final, they're obviously going to fancy their chances after winning the game, getting to a Munster final too. So, to be honest with you, their year probably totally hinges on that first game.
I think have everybody fit. Waterford can give most teams a game. I still don't think they would beat in an All-Ireland final, maybe in a Munster final. Would beat Limerick, Tipperary, up against Galway, who I think are going to be very strong. But
Kenny and Wexford, I think, would be ahead of Waterford too, to be honest.
Yeah, but if they get to, let's say they get far enough and get to Croke Park in the latter stages of the championship, they'll obviously have had a win or two under their belt. I think confidence is a big thing, and if they got those wins, they've still got some really good players, because we mentioned Tyke de Burka. He's got that club campaign under his belt now. If he gets his old form, if Jamie Barron hits his form, if Kevin Moran can be influential, if Ozzy Gleason can hit the levels that we kind of feel that he can get to, they've got a goalkeeper who can put the ball into your mouth from 100 yards. Desi Hutchinson's potential, I don't see why they'd be too afraid of anyone, but I think a lot of it is too, we won't believe in this Waterford team until they actually prove it to us.
No, probably not. Like they had a good league campaign last year until the league final, and then the Gars kind of fell out of it. There's no point in saying any different. It did, and they were beaten by Clare down in Walsh Park, and then absolutely annihilated by Limerick. So you're probably going to be a doubting Thomas, and you're probably going to have to see it before you believe it with them. Another thing as well is Liam Cahill has kind of stuck by his guns. There was no recall for Noel Connors. There was no recall for Maurice Shannon, and by all accounts, from just chatting to people down there, he has pretty much stuck with the panel that he had at the start of the year. I don't think there's really been anyone that I'm aware of that has been drafted into the panel on the back of the club campaign. So he's sticking by his guns, and it'd be interesting to see what they do. I think a lot does hinge on that first game. It's a serious opportunity knocking for them. It really, really is. Like, it could have been a disastrous draw on the other side. They've got definitely got easily the nicer side of Munster. And if they win that first game, like me and you were both chatting Austin Gleason at different media events, and just said like the only goal, the first goal, is to get a win in 2020. And like a win over a high profile county and a win over Cork would be massive win for them.
Yeah, 1959 since they last won in All-Ireland, a decade now since their last Munster title, 13-2 to win Munster at the time of talk, and 16-1 for the All-Ireland. It's going to be a tough ask, but do you know what? I think they can use this as a building year. So anyone have any thoughts on Waterford out there, please do let us know.